It is Saturday again, and this is the Saturday Night Mouse Party. Tonight we've got DJ. How you doing, DJ?
I'm doing well, man. Glad to be here.
And Gun Websites, G-Webs. How you doing?
I am doing 42.
Well, that's good. Gizzard, Gary, how are you doing?
Not too bad for a guy my age. Thanks for asking.
Oh, just trying to get organized. We were chit-chatting, and I was browsing online and kind of lost track of time. So we'll get...
Do you feel bad that this week isn't an overnight?
No, not really. There's a chance, not this Wednesday, but maybe the Wednesday after, the Mouse Party will return to Wednesdays. Can't guarantee it right now, but from what I got a note from my boss, but he wants to talk to me about it next Tuesday. So
you're saying there's a chance?
There's a chance, but I can't guarantee it. So let's take a quick look. See who is out there in the side chat so far. DJ was having a big wee out there earlier. Vulcan Rumble checking in. Gizzard Gary. CNT Designs and Arms. Coop is out there. Chris from the 740. And Hillbilly up. I think that's everybody that said something so far. I think so. I've got some new stickers. Yeah, I'll make myself the bakers. This one, which I wasn't sure about this design, but with I think that's the holographic. I don't know, the shiny oil slick kind of. I really like this one. So I ordered some slightly larger ones and see how those look. The same style, but I was happy with how these look with the shine on them. And the poor conservative.
I wasn't looking. Which ones?
Oh, it was the Voltron.
Oh yeah. How big?
Just 3-inch. These are 2.5-inch, and I went just slightly bigger because somebody was having a sale. So yeah, and when I showed that
you did each segment, like each arm and each leg, and then the body in 2.5-inch stickers, so that when they all get stuck together, they become a 5-inch sticker.
That would be awesome, cool, but that's a lot of work.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with you doing that amount of work.
Yeah, when I showed this to Baron, when I drew it up, he thought it was the Megazord from the Power Rangers. I'm like, God, no. He's like, well, what's
huh?
Yeah. When I gave him pretty much the shaking my head, and he's like, well, what's the difference? It's like, I can't. I'm sorry, I can't. And the poor conservative, he sent me some of the 2A Brotherhood. So I got a bunch of these to send out when I send out stuff to people. Let's say thank you to him. And I did another logo, kind of a two-tone background, which I'm not absolutely sure about these, but I got a bunch of them, so they're gonna go out.
I kind of like it. You did an opposite patch?
Yeah. Because
I was just playing around. Like, I didn't think about it or nothing. I was just playing around. Some of them came out, some of them didn't.
Yeah, I stole it off of the patch that G-Web sent me, which I really like that two-tone look, but there's something just a little off, and it's in the design, not in the... These are stickers from Sticker LA, which are probably my favorite stickers. They're just almost imperceptibly thicker, but you can feel the difference.
Well, I know from watching Alan Anker make them, like you print onto white vinyl, let's say, right? So now there's the sticker on white vinyl, and then you cut it out, right? So now it's a sticker, and you can get different thicknesses of vinyl. But what they do is they take their sticker before they cut it out. They print it on a big sheet of vinyl, like a whole bunch of them, and then they run it through a laminator, and it squishes a layer of UV clear on top, and then they put it through their cutter and cut it out. So is it that it has like a layer of UV clear on it, maybe?
It might be because it's like the Hub City ones. I mean,
Like, are
it's
they more flexible or less flexible? Like, that's one of the ways I can tell. You know, like some
yeah,
of
the
them,
Hub City ones are more flexible.
yeah. I bet you they have a UV layer. One way, I guess, would stick them outside, you know, and see which ones start to fade.
But oh, so
But I think
Scoop was
that might be
saying,
one of my favorite ones. Is that guy holding a 60 or a, what was he holding?
yeah, it's a 60
Yeah, that's one of my
because
favorite ones.
I'm that old. And I have held an M60. I have never shot one, but when I was in high school, I got to hold one, which was awesome.
Did I ever tell you my story about basic with the M60s?
No,
So luckily I knew stuff because people told me stuff before I went in. So whenever, at least at that time, it's probably different now. This is in the fucking 80s. But back then you'd go to, like if you weren't infantry, you were just going to orientation with that kind of stuff. So you'd go for like a day. And like, if I remember right, you did like law and M60 on the same day at the same range. And back then, all they did is shoot an AT4. We learned about it, and then they'd shoot it in front of us, but we never touched one. But we all had like a practice law back then, you know, the law. But anyway, then
yeah,
the M60. So the thing with the M60 was you have to clean it, of course, and you have to learn how to take it apart and shit, and service it and maintain it. And there's two people. There's the one person that's shooting it, and the other person's carrying the ammo and making sure the ammo and holding extra barrels and stuff. So anyway, when you go to shoot the thing, they give you, I don't remember, let's say a foot long worth of belt, right? So and this was, I don't remember anymore, but let's say halfway through basic or something. So I knew it was coming, and I knew that was the only time we're going to be able to touch an M60 in basic. So essentially, I think we were playing, is it quarters? When you're not quarters, but whatever the game is where you throw quarters at a wall, and whoever's closest
yeah.
to the wall wins all the quarters. We were doing that game all the time whenever we had a moment to sit around, and I would play that, and then I would be like, okay, here's your money back, and now give me 2 bullets when we get to the M60. Okay, you owe me 3 bullets when we get to the M60. So I called in all my bullets, and I got to shoot the M60 for like an hour and a half compared to everybody else who like only got to pull the trigger like 4 times, and nobody cared because it wasn't that big a deal. But anyway, so I got to pull the trigger on an M60 a little bit longer than everybody else. It was kind of fun.
That's awesome.
By the way, it's way louder sitting next to the M60 than it is sitting behind the M60. You don't even hear it sitting behind it.
Yeah, when I did I can never remember the difference between the Navy used to have a Tiger cruise and a Dependence cruise. And I think, yeah, I can't remember which was which. One would be like if they're doing a shakedown run, just go out in the bay and tool around to make sure nothing breaks. And then there was one that went from Hawaii back to Washington. And I got to ride the Nimitz from Hawaii back to Washington. Part of that, the Marines had a display, and they had a 60 there. So they let me hold it.
When I was a little ass kid, I got to hold one also. And I think that once you hold one, you're like, okay, I'm going to do whatever I can to shoot one of these. Essentially, they know what they're doing.
Just trying to figure out where. Got a
What were
picture
those shoes called that had Velcro, but the 2 Velcro straps were connected to each other? I don't remember the name of it, but I remember having shoes like that. It was like the closest thing I could get to Terminator, right? When the guy's in Terminator and he's putting those Velcro shoes on. And I can remember having a picture holding them 60, and I was wearing them Terminator shoes, and I thought I was badass back then. Probably like 12.
Oh, let me do it this way. I was going to show a picture, but it's on my phone, and I'm trying to can't. I'm just gonna hang on here while I mail it to myself so I can show it. It's the easiest way to do it here. There, and then all right. So I'll show that in just a second there. Vanessa Kitty's out there. She said Marines in Alaska invited me to their range day practice. Pretty fun. Being a U.S. Air Force hospital personnel, being asked to their range day. That's cool.
Yeah, Marines probably don't screw around. Usually they're belting barrels and like taking things to extremes and getting in trouble.
Hillbilly's gonna go spend some time with his wife and granddaughter. I'll have a good night. Thanks for checking in with us. Whoop. There we go. Come on. Come on. Just waiting for, there we go. This morning after I got home from work, I doodled this up for, that's right. For Chris from the 740. On Gary's show Friday, I was listening to the replay. He was talking about, I know he was a big Star Wars fan, so I made him a Jedi Knight.
That's pretty cool.
I'm not a good enough artist where I couldn't make him not smile because the reference picture he's smiling. So yeah, I couldn't make him look serious. But
say I've got a couple pictures with him. He's smiling pretty big in both of them. So
if he had one of them light swords, he could cut his trenches a lot faster than with that backhoe. Just walk by it and cut a big gap out of the yard.
ooh. I got my screen all messed up now. So I was trying to make the picture bigger. There we go. And I was adjusting the wrong screen. I've got the screen up here, the StreamYard, and then my laptop. And I accidentally messed up my laptop.
I hate it when I get my mouse over on my StreamYard screen and I'm looking all over trying to get my mouse to do what I'm trying to do, and then I figure out that I'm on a whole different monitor than where I'm trying to click.
Yeah, I got it fixed now. But I forgot to let me grab this week's poll. I'll throw a link for that out in the chat.
yeah, don't forget your banner also.
Oh, thank you. I was in the process of forgetting. So, there. And fix. There we go. Down. So there's the link for this week's poll. If you haven't voted, head over there and give it a vote. I'll pin it to the top. There we go. So this week's poll, green, there we go, was what's your favorite social media platform? YouTube, Instagram, X, TikTok, or they are all equally bad. And YouTube took it with 59%, which is what I expected. Instagram, 2%. X, the formerly known as Twitter. X was Twitter, right? That's the one.
Yes.
Muscabot, 3%. TikTok got 0%. And they are all equally bad, 35%. I do YouTube and Instagram. I don't do Twitter and I will not do TikTok.
I'm on all of them, but TikTok is a joke.
And looking at the comments, Caucasian Sasquatch, I use YouTube. The rest are for messaging. Pacifist Productions said Tinder. Tim Allen, I love how nobody voted for TikTok. Anyway, I spend most of my time here on YouTube. New York Outcast, I still use Twitter, the Twitters. Mrs. Mel, the one that pays the most. Tom Payne, MySpace. I almost put as a fourth option Friendsters, but I don't know how many people would remember what Friendster was.
I noticed you didn't have Facebook on there.
Well, I only have 5 spots, so I can't put everything. I don't do Facebook anymore. I used to just to keep in touch with family, but I kind of got tired of the stupid posts that I would see all the time, and so I stopped using it years ago. Probably been at least 10 years now.
Yeah, the people who annoyed me, I just removed them off my list.
Well, I always would feel bad because they're family. But so instead of just choosing which person to eliminate, I just got rid of all of it. Which was kind of a shame because there were a bunch of old family pictures that I had posted on there, which I cannot find on my computer anymore. So,
oh no.
Yeah. But, that's the way it goes. Mike McClune's getting snow to the north and east here in PA. We're supposed to maybe get snow Friday. But for us, usually, it'll snow maybe a day or two, and then within at least a week, depending on how much snow it was, it'll be gone. So it'll usually rain and then turn to slush and then melt. So.
We had a couple 3 inches on the ground, but then it got up to the mid-30s today, and most of it melted.
Wow. Ken Thompson's out there. Wow. Vanessa Kitty's saying they're on path to get 15 inches.
That's a lot of snow.
It's supposed to snow. There's a cold front coming through, but it's going to snow like 2,000 feet and above. We'll get a bunch of snow and then just rain below that. Mike's saying it's going to be in the 50s for him next week. So I'm thinking of doing in the future a bracket, the greatest rock song ever. But I'm trying to figure out how to choose the songs. What I would love to do is have people suggest songs, but I usually don't get enough interaction when I ask for input. Because I don't want to just do like Billboard Top 100 or something like that. I would love to. I want to know what everybody thinks. Because I've been thinking the last week, listening to music at work, and I realized that one of the songs I kind of think is probably one of the greatest rock songs ever. And so that got me thinking, well, that'd be maybe fun to do a bracket on that. What do you guys think?
I think you
think
should do it.
that's like a flavor. That's like saying what's the favorite flavor. Like it kind of depends on your mood and your what's going on in your world. You know, if you're not doing real great, your song is going to be a different one than if you just got married, right? Or if you, I don't know, just had a kid, it's going to be different than if you just lost some fish, you know, that you were trying to catch or something. You know, like I mean, I think it's kind of temperate. What's the word? Like temperate or something. I don't know what the word is.
Yeah, kind of tempered by your mood.
I mean, you could either do a community post or you could do a video and ask for responses in your video, and then the rest of us, I could promote it on my show and stuff like that. So go over and vote in DM Foss's best rock song of all time poll or whatever.
It only costs $5 an episode for me to promote it on my show if you want.
I'll do it for $4.50. I'll catch you a deal.
I'm not getting into that kind of where I'm already below industry rates at this point.
I'll push it on other channels for $2.50
each, so it comes out to $7.50 or $9.
Well, your prices are going down.
No, that's awesome. I think that'd be a great idea. As Emily was saying in the chat just not that long before yours, music is one of those things that unites us all. And even if we have a disagreement about it, we all have an opinion about what it is, sort of thing. Like, I'm used to the top 20, top 50, top 100 countdowns since I started paying attention in the 80s, sort of thing. So it seems like the top 3 or 4 positions would probably pretty much be on lock with Stairway to Heaven, Bohemian Rhapsody, and like Freebird or Smoke on the Water.
No.
You know, running first, second, and third. No? All right, then. But I still think it'd be a blast.
Or sometime somewhere, but I don't know what Matt used to call it. You ever watch Never Enough Ammo show? He did a thing where everybody would bring their top 5 or their top 10. And then it'd be like, what's everybody's 10? What's everybody's 9? What's everybody's 8? And
That's kind of what I was thinking. If it didn't work out into a bracket, maybe having the guests say
I don't know what that's
bring
called,
one.
but that's another way of doing that. Because otherwise,
we have done that in the past.
I mean, you can say
like that
out of
idea.
these 32 songs, what's the best? I mean, that's fine. I mean, you can do that. But again, I think that's up to the person's mood or whatever. You know, again, if you just got married versus you just wrecked your car or something.
Yeah, and it's, you know, I'm thinking just if you had to pick one to be the greatest ever, and it's, you know, whatever time frame, I don't care. And not what's my favorite currently, but what is the best ever. I don't know, I might have to think about it a little
Well, it's
more.
a Grateful Dead song. So first you just have to recognize that's the case. And then you just got to figure out if it's Music Never Stopped or...
Let's see, that rules it
Is it
down to
filled?
a few.
But yeah, I don't want to hash it out too much because if we do a chat on it, then, you know, I don't
Well,
want
you're
to bump it
doing...
on
Were
the
you
forward.
were you there for the Elvis chat earlier?
No,
Or were you sleeping?
I was sleeping. Uh-oh.
Ooh, DJ pulled a fast one so he can get in front of the dog. What's he doing? He's petting that dog. And now Gizzard's petting that dog.
Heck yeah.
But I was thinking if people liked it and it kind of worked out, then maybe doing like maybe best country song ever or best
Yes.
rap song
That
ever.
doesn't exist. That's easy. That's like the best 9mm ever.
Genre jumping. That's a great idea, man.
But you know, it's just something I was thinking about, so I thought I'd throw it out there and get everybody's opinion on it.
Yeah, everybody's got varied opinions on rock and roll. Everything else, as far as that goes, a lot depends on your age and everything else.
Yeah, I definitely, most of what I listen to is 80s and back. But it's the trying to think on my iTunes. I still use iTunes.
Let's say I have Apple Music.
I was trying to think what the newest song I would have, but I'm not sure. It would probably be the Beatlesons. There was a Calvin and Hobbes book that was basically one long poem about Calvin running away. And they turned it into a song. And I don't know when that was from.
Who did? What artist?
The Beatlesons, they're like Norwegian or something. Here, let me look it up and we'll get a
I thought that
copyright
was made
strike.
up by IKEA.
Oh.
You guys were talking about Elvis in there in the other chat, and so I brought up a list of Elvis songs or whatever, and I like those 68 to 70, I guess, when he's in the jumpsuit and whatever that was, the Hawaii comeback or whatever, like that era, Fat Elvis. That's the ones I like. But going through there, like all those old Elvis songs, like you can listen to those. There's nothing wrong with old Elvis songs. Like there's so many Elvis songs that are good. It wasn't surprising. I guess I knew, but it's crazy how many good Elvis songs there are.
I enjoy Elvis. So let's see if we get a copyright strike or not for this. This is
You are.
the Yukon song, and it's hard to understand because the accents, but
Tiger friend has got his head and I have packed his neck. We're all set for a trip ahead. We're never coming back. Abandoning this life will end. So long, mom and pop. We're sick of doing what you said, and now it's going to stop.
but I don't know
We're going where it's
No
when the
idea what
song
they're
is
saying.
from.
every meaning. A best
What are they saying?
You can stand some cleaning. You can ask the place for us. That's where I want to live. Up there we go to Yannicast, an actual primitive.
But it's basically was a long poem about Calvin and Hobbes going to the Yukon because they don't want to clean their room and
Oh,
don't want to listen
wow.
to the songs.
I was going to say it looks like it's from the 60s, but I guess it isn't that old.
Not sure I'd classify that as rock, but
Well, I'm just saying the newest song that I have on my iTunes.
oh, okay.
Right on. That reminds me a lot of the Pogues, If I Should Fall from Grace with God. And that's arguably rock. I mean, I played it on a rock station for a couple of years.
Because other than that, it would go back to like Christina Aguilera, but that's 2000s. What a Girl Wants. I like that song. I don't care for anything else that she does, but I like that.
What
song.
about, have you heard some song from the 20s? Bugle Boy?
That's
She
from
does
the
a remake.
Like the
40s.
song from the 40s, the Boogie Woogie
Boogie
Bugle Boy.
Woogie Beagle Boy? Yeah.
Yeah, but
Company
Christina,
B.
Christina Aguilera singing it.
Oh,
I've never heard that version.
no,
Yeah,
I
check
haven't.
There's a
so-
video for it too.
Oh, yeah.
There's a Bette
Interesting.
Midler version that came out in the
No,
70s.
it's different. This is for the video age. I'm just saying.
Chasing Ghosts is out there. Good evening. She might still be out on the road again.
Just can't wait to get on the road again.
Seeing all the places she's already been.
I can't wait to get on the road again.
Seeing things that she may never see again.
There you go. Sorry.
Is bluegrass country?
I
Uh,
probably maybe a subcategory. I would consider them country.
they're,
I
they're
like-
parallel, but there is crossover. Agree.
I like older bluegrass. Is I just had a song kind of come into mind and then left before I could say what the name was.
An old one or a new one?
An old one, like 50s. That's kind of 50s, early 60s is what I for country too is kind of what I like. I'm not into the newer country stuff. Woods is out there.
Does Woods listen to music?
Probably, I would guess so.
Maybe.
Oh, he most definitely does. He has strong opinions about 80s metal for sure. Just get him started on one.
Chris is out there. Chris from the 740 is out there. Just saying, Chris from the 740 is out there.
Is he? He checks. No, that's not what I want to be looking at. There. Yeah, he Chris could jump in if he wanted to. He knows where the links are. Gunmetal Guy USA is out there. I don't really have a topic, so what if we want to talk about? Just before I came out for the chat, was watching Washington Gun Law, which I kind of wish I hadn't. He was talking about some of the new gun infringements that have been pre-filed for Washington. One of them is one gun per 30 day. They're gonna go after the preemption laws, and training. They had pulled live fire training out of the bill that got passed last year, and so there's a bill that puts it back in. There's like one more, and I don't remember what it was. I think I pushed it out of my memory.
You talking about what went into effect on January 1st?
Well, these were all bills that are pre-filed for this year to be voted on.
There's bills, not actual
Yeah.
laws. Okay.
So another round of garbage.
You had 10-day waiting period start up in January, huh?
Yeah. Oh, that's what the other one. There's one where you have 24 hours to report a lost or stolen gun once you know it was lost or stolen. Currently, you have like 10 days or something. That was a part of the safe storage law, which the Supreme Court has already ruled in Heller that safe storage laws are unconstitutional.
Well, I feel like knives are dangerous, so every time you misplace a knife or you don't know where a knife is, file a form with the government. It's no big deal. It's safer if it just saves one person from having their self cut by a stray knife or having a knife walk off and be with somebody who shouldn't have a knife. It's not that big an ask. Just let us know every time you misplace a knife. No big deal. Knives are dangerous.
Well, there's a few videos that I watched from a guy in England about knives, and basically what the bad gun laws, like for California, Washington, New York, England applies those to knives. Like to carry, you have to have good reason for knives, and basically it's if you need it for your work. And then importation laws.
I learned this from watching your videos. I'm testing the cleanliness of it.
Well, there's a few more coming out, and I test the pointiness.
This is a Forged in Fire from the TV show, I think. You ever watch that show?
I saw somebody, I don't know where, I just happened to see somebody talking about it, like on a posting. I was looking something up, and they mentioned Forged in Fire branded knife.
Yeah, I just happened to be looking at this knife, and I was like, "Well, that seems like a pretty nice knife." I've got one from, what's her name? Some other TV show that made
Country
knives.
Woman or whatever.
Yeah. No, Pioneer Woman. That's right.
Pioneer Woman. There you go.
And this is similar, right? It's got like a full tang. I'm like, well, that seems like a pretty nice knife, right? And the price was right. I won't tell you the price, but you would be like, dang it, you would have bought this also. It was under $1, let's just say. It was a very inexpensive knife. So I brought it home, and then it's like, oh, what do you know? It's from a TV show.
Yes, but will it kill?
I don't know. It came as a set with a larger, like, knife like that, which you would cut like a roast with, I guess, like a big chef's knife. This is like the paring knife or the fruit knife, or I don't know what that's for. But I think it's kind of like a steak knife for on the table or whatever. Anyway,
I have
about knives, so I brought it out. I have it right here.
The way that blade is, I have Santoku.
Where it's like hammered like this.
Yeah,
I
and
don't know if I like that or not. Do you like it?
I kind of do, but it's a Damascus, but it's not really the good Damascus. Basically, it's kind of it's a stamped blade with hammer marks in it, so it's not quite as good looking as a real forged knife. Woods is saying he has several of the Prairie Woman knives. I have at least one. I might have two that G-Web sent me.
Yeah, for a while there, I was grabbing every one I could find at the store, giving them away like crazy.
Woods is asking about thoughts on Dave Reichard for governor. I would vote for him. He was a senator. Basically, he's the one that caught the Green River Killer. That kind of, after the case had gone cold, he kind of went back and then figured out who did it. And he kind of became famous in the state for it, and that helped push him his Senate run.
It sounds like a movie or something.
But I would vote for Reichard. He was a Republican, and I can't remember if he retired or if he lost, but now we have two Democrat senators. One's bad and one's worser. Yeah, the Green River Killer killed prostitutes along, and then would dump them along the Green River back in the 80s. Coop is saying old school blacksmith would never leave hammer marks on a tool or knife. I kind of like the way it looks.
I thought maybe it's sort of like what's the like, you know how like a bud groove is for that, you know, allegedly, so you don't like get a suction or whatever, so that the blade can come back out. Like I thought maybe you leave that on there on, because I see it on knives sometimes. Maybe you leave it on there so that when you're cutting like a big roast or something, like it has less tendency to like suction up to the blade. That's what I thought. Like maybe it was designed to create an airspace, you know, between the meat and the blade. But that's just me assuming. I really have no idea.
No, I've heard the same thing for sure.
Could be, might be just cosmetic.
Yeah, just because sometimes the side of a blade is just going to be kind of a mirror finish, so just to make it look something different, right?
Well, that's like the cheese knives will have that slot in the middle of them, so the cheese doesn't stick to the knife. So you get that, breaks that suction.
One thing I don't like is cheese suction.
Coop is saying hammer marks are like tourist marks. Yeah, I'm not sure what'll happen with Washington because our current governor he's not going to run again. The AG, who is behind a lot of these bad gun laws, wants to be governor.
Like what happened in Massachusetts?
I don't know what happened in Massachusetts. But
their attorney general is the one that created the assault weapons ban statewide that happened nationally back in '94, and then, or at least, no, I think she's been there that long. I guess that's impossible, but anyway, she did a bunch of bad assault weapons ban shit, and then now she's the governor.
Yeah, it sounds similar because he basically wrote some of the anti-gun laws.
Yeah, that's certainly lame. And I'm sure what's his face, Bloomy, is more than happy to fund anybody who's running on that platform, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I try not to. I keep tabs on what's going on, but I don't dive too deep into it just because it, makes me sad. And I don't want to spend my day angry and upset over stuff. So I keep tabs on what's going on, but I'm not.
Overall, it's there's back and forth, right? Overall, there's wins and losses. Overall, things change, so people get all opinionated one way or the other, and then they get a little taste of it, and they go, "Oh, you know what? This was not exactly what we wanted," and then things tend to sway the other way. Same thing happens. Everybody goes, "You know what? It's not so great over here either, and let's go back that way." Grass was greener where we came from. Oh, wait a minute, no, it's not. It's greener over there. So monitoring it, but maybe to monitor the speed of the fluctuation, but you can't control it. You can't stop it. So best you can do is just know where you're at on the curve, right?
Yeah. And yeah, I don't want to go too much into it. Make me sad. But
so are we talking gun stuff in general, or are we just bringing that one up?
We can talk about whatever. Like I said, I don't really have anything specific to talk about. Oh, hang on. I forgot that Gary reminded me to get the banner. Yeah. There we go. At the bottom of the screen, there is an email address on tacticalfoss@gmail.com and a link that'll get you somewhere. You can send in suggestions, comments, or pictures within reason. And if you watch this in replay, leave a comment. I read all the comments, and they are always appreciated. Anything we talked about, agree with, disagree with, think we left out, let me know.
So I'm scanning the FRMS frequencies. What are your feelings on having a CB, Citizens Band, / FMRS Family Band / whatever the CB radios are, or not CBs, but the little walkie-talkies are? You know, what is that called?
FRS.
FRS.
Yeah, thanks. What do you think about having a little radio that can scan like this one's doing, scanning all the channels all the time?
I'm not against it.
Seems cool.
That's like like ham radio. You don't need a license to listen to ham radio. And if things got bad enough, there won't be anyone there to give you a ticket for using a ham radio. So
No, there's no ticket. You would get a penalty or fine or something, but then there's also no penalty or fine for using one in a time of emergency. And
yeah.
If you're in an emergency, like you've got a broken leg and you're off the side of a cliff, you're allowed to use a ham radio to get out of there. It's just that you're not supposed to just sit there talking on a Tuesday on your ham radio if you don't have a license. But that being said, licenses are super easy to get. And there's, the reason you get a license is to learn how to work the radio, but it's not like how to tune it or anything. That's the instructions on the device you buy. It's just understanding how radio works. And that's worth knowing, like understanding what waves are where on the spectrum and what that means, like which ones bounce over mountains and which ones can bounce through rooms and stuff. So, just getting a general, overview of that is what the license does, and then quizzes you on it.
Aren't there like different classes of licenses too for ham?
Yeah, there's 3 types. So the first one, essentially, if you think of the spectrum as like, the light spectrum goes, from small wavelengths to big wavelengths. So there's, like the frequencies on a dial on a radio, old-fashioned radio, where you go from whatever it is, the 800s or on AM, 89 to 104, something like that. The whole entire radio spectrum, that's just one little piece of it, but the whole thing is essentially like that. So think of it like the first ham radio license, you get a majority of the channels you can use, but some of them are military and police, and some of them are somebody pays for them, and like there's gaps in there. It's like some of the channels on the radio dial somebody owns, and the first license just kind of lets you know where you can actually talk, so that you're not overlapping either military or police or somebody else's one that they own. And then some of those that are way over on the spectrum that are really hard to use, let's say, because you need powerful radios and they can talk really far distances, those are the ones you need the additional licenses for, or the additional qualifications for. And it's essentially just so that people aren't colliding in places. It's like if the Autobahn or something, like if people are driving really fast, they don't want people who've never driven before over there. So to get into the higher spectrum of frequencies or whatever, they want you to have got more understanding, because it gets more, let's say detailed up there. But anyway, so there's 3 levels, and you just have to have a little bit more knowledge for each of them.
So somewhat related, why do you think the government pushed people off analog into digital?
You mean TV?
Yeah. Well, I thought there was some of the radio stuff too that.
Yeah, because again, if you think of it like that, it really is just a spectrum. It's just like looking at a radio dial, except it's way wider. It goes from the colors, and it's everything we can see and hear and everything we can't, and microwaves and everything else. So in there, when they first laid it down, they were like, we need this much for the AM radio, and we need this much for FM radio. And everybody was like, sure, just like back when they made states, they're like, let's make them this big. And everybody's like, sure, nobody cares. And then later on, they're like, well, it's kind of unmanageable. Let's make counties, okay, let's make towns. Like, okay, let's make blocks, let's make neighborhoods. So essentially, when they first laid it down, they were way less precise. The radios were way less precise, so you wanted to put each channel way next, way far away from each other. But now they can put 100 radio channels right next to each other, and they just use so much real estate for those old formats that they were like chomping at the bit to say, hey. And now I'm swapping analogies around, but essentially that's all it is. They just, when they first divided it out, they just divided it at the time it was, what seemed great, but now that there's better technology and stuff, they were like, they could have made a lot of money selling all those frequencies that were essentially just sitting there doing nothing. Like nobody was using them, and they were perfect for all the 5G and shit that we are now using on them. So essentially, they want the frequencies back.
Yeah, and you can slice it up a lot thinner. The definition is crisper. I think. Yeah. I mean, there's high def sound.
If it was like, hey, we need this because we're going to blast across the state, so we need this frequency open. Well, now no one's blasting across the state, so that means you can blast across the room all you want. It's like that kind of thing. Like, let's move the frequencies around so that where we were blasting over in a really useful frequency just to do AM radio. I mean, I'm using bad analogies here. It was other stuff, but where we're using like real sloppy use of tech, like you think of like Morse code. It's just on and off with the wire. There's like, we can put 1,000 messages or 1,000,000 messages through a wire, and they were going 1 bit, like dit, like that's like turning off and on a computer to try to get binary off the screen. Like, no, you can do more with that computer. Just leave it on and do other things with it besides turn it on and off. I don't know. I'm using a lot of analogies again.
No, that works for me. And they were dedicating more and more space to things like emergency services and the divisions thereof. And it got so choked and clogged that it made better sense to do that as well. I mean, I'm not trying to speak as an expert. That was like, wasn't that like 20 years ago we started doing that shift over?
Plus, nobody was watching it anymore either. They were probably just sitting there dead most of the time. A lot of the channels. And as soon as, whoever started the first TV channel, they had to be TV sets first. So, that whole thing, what came first, the TV sets or the TV station? Same thing on the other end. Once everybody went to cable, how many people even have ears up anymore? So do you need a TV station if there's nobody listening? And at some point it became, which is the last thing to go? The people listening, the last couple of people listening, or the radio station? And, who can keep it going the longest? The radio station cutting corners, or the people bailing to... And then once the internet hit, it's probably goodbye, any kind of broadcast. Once you could stream or whatever, or probably once you could get DVDs delivered to your house, because that's, a chunk of it was probably entertainment.
At our old house, I had tried an over-the-air antenna, and didn't really work. I think I got one PBS station. So I made one, found a design and made one, which gave me like 3 or 4 channels. And then just as a test, I took maybe like a 2-inch piece of just wire, kind of a thick wire, stuck it in the connector at the back of the TV, and got just as good reception as I did with any of the antennas I had tried. Where we are now, I can't use an antenna indoor. I haven't tried the outdoor ones.
You probably just needed to get outside the shielding of the device, and then the size of the antenna was probably not such a big factor as long as it was getting some signal.
It was kind of disappointing because I thought I had, kind of a neat looking little antenna that I built myself. Yeah. The 2-inch piece of wire worked just as good. Woods went to bed. Yeah, the Washington Huskies the University of Washington Huskies are playing for the national championships, which I do not personally care. I'm not a Husky fan. I'm a Husky hater. Do you guys follow the foosballs?
Yeah, but usually not that much anymore because Nebraska has sucked for about 2 decades. And like I did not like it when we started to play Washington. And we're like even up over like 10 or a dozen or so meetups. So we've given up far more of those in the last decade than we ever did before.
We had used to be the Pac-10 and then expanded to the Pac-12. And now it's going to be the Pac-2 because everybody's leaving. So it just leaves Oregon State University and Washington State University. And I think, God, I forget where they're going, but like the UW is going to the Big Ten. It started with California teams breaking off. And, for college sports, it kind of ruins it. UW is the natural rivals of Washington State.
Mm-hmm.
And UW is usually a little better because WSU is in a wheat field out in the middle of nowhere on the other side of the state. But, it's the state rivals, but now they're not even in the same conference.
Yeah, back when we used to have the Big 8 back in the day, it made sense. I mean, you had Nebraska, you had Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, Colorado. All the teams were in those 5 states, basically, and they were all geographically fairly close to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So travel wasn't an issue at all, and they were just natural rivals built in there and stuff like that. Then you started adding the Texas teams, and it's just gotten ridiculous now. And the conferences keep changing. After a while, it's like it's hard to follow. It's real hard to follow.
It would have probably looked a
Agreed.
lot like the recipe, like the Kansas wheat bran and the Oklahoma corn and the Nebraska sorghum. I'm assuming that's the name. I'm assuming that's the name of your teams.
we'll take the corn straight away from Oklahoma. They can be like, I don't know, Snob's got some cattle, a little bit north of Texas, but I'm glad you made that point, Gary, because growing up with Big 8 and then Big 8 goes to Big 10, to 10 to 12, and the shifting around like that, I fell out of touch with how much things had changed. And it's not like the be all end all of my life or anything, but having those regional rivalries like that, and in-state rivalries for God's sake, Nebraska, we only have one major college football team. The other 2 schools are divisions lower. So we've only had one choice all this time. So we were glad to root against both the Kansas teams, the Oklahoma teams, anybody else.
Well, for years and years, you guys picked on the Kansas teams and just beat the tar out of them every year. And then when one of them got good enough to beat you, it's like, nope, we're done.
Yeah, and
But
like
we
how
lost,
and then
when we lost Missouri out of the Big 12, that was basically the longest football rivalry west of the Mississippi, and that ended it when they went to the SEC. And it's like, that's just a tradition, Kansas, Missouri, border war, stuff like that. That was always a big game. It's kind of like anytime we played Nebraska or Oklahoma, you're playing your neighbors next door. It's a big deal, You always want to, fight the kid next door, but you don't want to play Notre Dame or something silly like that, Or we got BYU coming
those
in
matchup
Big 12 next year. It's like, what?
Why do they change it then?
Different reasons, different years, different conferences. Yeah, but they nailed it for the most part there.
Yeah, Texas and Oklahoma are leaving because they're big enough they can call their own shots.
The UW WSU, that it's called the Apple Cup, and it's been going on for over 100 years. that game. And to me,
So, like, if a school gets too good, then you have to play different schools.
what if
I don't know anything about sports, but
kind of
barely know what ball goes. With
it all kind of revolves around money. Where can they make the most money? If you get to a different conference, you're a
so the
good team.
conferences aren't like these are the good ones and these are the shitty ones. It's something else.
Well, it kind of. I'm not going to be able to explain it very well, but if UW going somewhere else, they can get more money, they get more exposure, which means better players, which means more money, and it basically all comes down to money. Where can you get the more money?
Well, it's like a chess game. Like if you're playing better teams, then you get better players come into your school, type of thing.
Yeah, because that's like bowl games. If you make it to a bowl game, you get national exposure, which means you can draw in players from different areas.
So then, can a school just pay to be in a better tournament or whatever?
No.
They have to be good.
Well, would you take a scrub team into your conference if they weren't any good?
Well, I don't know.
Even if they were giving you money, because they're not helping your conference by being bad.
Would those kind of schools want to be in something?
So
they're different divisions. Like
the ones that
they're
are
like
so
different
good.
divisions.
Go ahead. I don't know what I'm saying. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say there are different divisions as well in NCAA ball. So a Division I school, Division 3, 4 on down, and those are more based on student populations than anything else. And so then you have the larger schools are only going to, there are only going to be so many that are up there at the top with enrollments that are that high or endowments that are that deep, enough draw in sort of thing. But all of these factors, all these things factor into some degree.
So community college isn't playing like Harvard or some shit, I guess.
No.
Although every once in a while there will be some younger team or some younger program that'll jump in, like Boise State did. I mean, Boise State, who the fuck are they? I never knew, that school even existed. And all of a sudden, there's these blue turf guys who are just tearing it up.
How come
they got to jump in?
How come there's not a thing where like schools build a car and then there's like races between the schools, or schools?
Well, there are
horses, and then there's races between the schools or something.
There are, like science competitions between
science. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I was thinking
but maybe
or something like shop class. I guess they don't have shop class in college.
What I thought of immediately, especially considering who brought that up, solar. I mean, every year there are competitions in solar power for cars.
You're thinking nerds. I'm thinking gearheads, though.
Well, combine the two, and what do you got?
Gear nerds. Those are the worst kind. I've been to maybe 2 sports games ever. And, well, if you count high school, maybe 4. Like, I think I went to 2 in high school. But then 2, like, other ones, like a baseball game one time, and then a basketball game one time. But I'm not into sports that much. Well, at all.
I've only been to one of the WSU games, and that was actually they played in the where the Seahawks played. They played Grambling, which Grambling did not have a good team. But high school, I think a couple games, and it's like high school, it's fun. You're out with your friends and watching people play, and the atmosphere it's a little different. You're rooting for your local team. That's college. College is kind of that thing, but it's morphed into something a little different than that now. Just like I was saying, the money.
It's like a concert. Like people get all into it, and it's like a concert that you're fighting against the other half of the audience.
Well, G-Web's on Nebraska Cornhusker game days. It's the stadium is the third largest city of Nebraska.
The Nebraska corn.
Yeah, we are the corn. I'll take it. But no, it's like capacity there. When I was growing up, it was like 70,000, 70 something thousand. Now, because they pushed it up, it's like almost 90,000 the stadium is. But yeah, seriously, third largest city in Nebraska, a game Saturday. And it's in Lincoln proper. So they won't get close to Omaha's population by combining the two. But that was always like something that I was
So
surprised and kind of
70,000
proud
people
of.
show up, you said? So if 70,000 people show up, how many of it is like Nebraska versus whatever, like Iowa or Kansas? Is it like 70-30 or is it like 50-50?
Oh, no, it's nowhere near that. And that was actually, I was going to try and tie that in when Foss was mentioning, the different programs, and Gary was like, the regional thing, because when teams have to travel from so far away now, you don't get the opportunity to be in that stadium where you will see it's never going to be 50-50, like 20% of the stadium, maybe when it was back in the day, probably more like 10% would be a different color than red. And now it's just positively tiny, like little postage stamp up in one corner. Like if you have somebody coming in from California, Notre Dame, when they came to town, I mean, even some, a program who has fans as rabid as someplace like Notre Dame or the Michigans or whatever,
They'd have to
when they
all
come into
pay
town,
to
you
go
still
to
can't tell.
Nebraska to be there. Yeah. Okay. Or I guess it's possible for a team to be so popular that even people in Nebraska like it and they put on their shit.
Oh, good luck.
Well, I'm just saying.
There will be the dissenters for sure, but yeah, it's just, well, yeah.
So if you live in Nebraska or Kansas or one of them states where it matters, and there's a football game or a basketball game, whatever matters, and you go there rooting for the wrong team, like you go to work the next day and people are like, "Fuck you, asshole."
Well,
Take it
it's
out
that
on you.
way in Kansas because we have two universities that are more or less the same size and they're rivals. Now, Nebraska is kind of unique to where there's really only one, what I would call a major university. So
You're right.
if you're from Nebraska, you're pretty much a University of Nebraska fan, whereas in Kansas, it's kind of evenly split between the University of Kansas and Kansas State, much like Foss has up in his state, where you have a rivalry there. But Nebraska kind of has a stranglehold on that. To coin
Oh,
a
no
10
doubt.
region
Well,
term.
yeah, and we have a nice reference there. We have two other state schools in the University of Nebraska system, Omaha and Kearney, and they are both way below. Well, Omaha is way below UNL, and UNK is that much further below UNO. So they have no chance of ever meeting each other, on the field. You get to be a fan of either or combination of the teams because they're not in competition with each other.
I was going to say,
So-
yeah, there's no mutually exclusive type thing where if you vote, if you're a Kearney fan, you hate the Cornhuskers. That doesn't happen in Nebraska, I don't think.
Right. So we do have that advantage when it comes to fan base.
When you look up if you look up WSU and you're looking for Washington State University, half the time you get Wichita State University, the Shockers.
That's right.
What's Wichita, Kansas?
Yeah.
Which is a Division I school.
What is a shocker? Piece of electric?
A shocker is actually a reference to when they used to harvest wheat. They would tie it into bundles and hang it off a fence post, and those were called shocks. So a shocker was somebody who harvested wheat. So
It's the
their
Kansas
mascot
wheat.
is basically a bundle of wheat that has a face on it and stuff like that.
Right.
A black sweatshirt.
Today's Shocker means something completely different.
I was kidding,
Well,
and it turns
yes,
out
and
that
they have those
Nebraska
shirts in
is
Wichita,
corn
too.
and Kansas is wheat.
Yes, they're well aware of that in Wichita. Trust me.
I'm pretty glad the Cornhuskers changed their names because when it was out on the lonesome prairie in the 19th century, we were the bug eaters.
Oh, I thought you were going to say cornholers.
Oh no,
It could be Jayhawks, and everybody said, "What the hell's a Jayhawk?"
yeah.
What was that? Somebody who booked out to Kansas? Something like that?
A Jayhawk basically is somebody that basically staked claim for land in Kansas when they first inhabited the territory.
But I thought
They
it was
were
like
called
they hauled
Jayhawkers.
ass out there. They hauled ass out there and grabbed a claim or something, right?
So like Sooners.
That's basically it, yeah. Yeah, like Sooners.
Yeah, but like the Jaybird, like I thought it had something to do with like the like quickly. But anyway, I don't know. I thought I read.
It's a mythical bird. I mean, there's kind of a cartoonish bird thing, but it looks, I don't know how you describe it, kind of like a rounded off toucan looking thing.
So was it the Jayhawks that were the red boots? Or is that somebody
Are
different?
they red boots or blue? I can't remember.
Well,
it's a blue.
you're tying into the Civil War thing, Boss?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the
Yeah.
You got it right there. Yeah, as long as you
Yeah, that name's very old. It's used to refer to Kansans basically as a whole.
It's probably an insult then.
Well, unless you're a KU fan, in which case you. Yeah.
Well, I mean, back in the day, because it was probably like,
Oh, I
you're one of them.
suppose.
Or maybe not. Maybe it was like a just a way to describe your state or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Originally it was
very-
Jayhawkers, and then it got shortened down to Jayhawks, but yeah.
and Jayhawker and Bushwhacker were almost synonymous there for a while in that Red Leg generation.
Yeah.
What are Nebraskans?
Mostly neutral. We didn't have a side.
You didn't, no, I mean you don't have a name for people that moved to Nebraska.
Nebraskans, I mean, people I suppose will take on Cornhusker without being a football fan or sports fan, but otherwise just Nebraskan.
Larry the Cable Guy is a Nebraska fan. He wears
Nebraska
the Nebraska
didn't exist before
necklace.
the Civil War, did it?
Say again?
I said Nebraska didn't exist at the time of the Civil War, did it?
As well,
It
only
was
as a territory.
I believe. Yeah. It wasn't a state
Yeah.
then. Okay.
No, not until, oh my God. See, I took state history on the Iowa side. 1860, within a couple of years, it's the end of the Civil War. Like 1867, I think, is Nebraska statehood.
Okay, because Kansas was a state in 1861, so they were.
Mm.
Arizona's like 1919 or 1911 or something like that.
Washington is 1889, which Washington State University was founded in 1888.
Yeah, I think there's stuff in Arizona that's older than Arizona, but we're one of the last states, so it's pretty easy.
Now, I don't know about Washington and Kansas. Well, I think in most states, the state university is usually the agricultural.
Yeah,
That's the way it is
it's
here.
the Cal College.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That is literally out in the middle of a wheat field. It's surrounded by wheat fields. It looks.
Wait,
it
you're
looks a
saying
lot.
that the one that is this something state, like Washington State or Arizona State, you're saying that's the one that's the agricultural college?
Usually.
Okay, and then what? What does University of indicate?
That's usually the original
First one.
first college that all the, the big, rich kids would go to and stuff, become doctors and lawyers and
Okay,
all that cool
I
stuff.
didn't know
But
there was
they tend
had a
to,
movie.
the engineering schools tend to go towards the state universities too a lot. So
Yeah, University of Washington was founded 1861.
Mm.
because K-State used to be called Kansas Agricultural Mechanic University or something, then they changed the name of it later.
There's oil in Kansas, isn't there?
Yeah, down in southern Kansas there is.
Oh, okay. There's not in the rest of the state.
Not a lot. No, most of it's down towards the Oklahoma line. But
Were
yeah,
they
there-
farming or oiling first in like Oklahoma? Then do you know?
Probably farming first, I'm guessing. Not
Oh,
sure.
I I got WSU wrong. It was 1890. Not I went the wrong. I knew it was 1 year difference from the state founding. I went the wrong way. So it was 1 year after the state was founded.
I think our rambling topics are completely disinteresting to anybody listening. Is there anybody even saying anything out there?
I don't know if anybody watching out there.
There's still, YouTube says there's still 13 people out there.
Where are you at? What are you saying? Do you have any opinions on this? What's happening?
Well, they probably all fell asleep. So
Probably.
I'm not sure what's going to happen with after the Pac-10 became the Pac-12. They started their own cable channel, Pac-12 network, and so like all the football and basketball games were on there, and they feuded with DirecTV, and I have DirecTV, so I never got to watch them. But now all the teams are gone. So that channel's going to tank, and I know WSU got between $1 and $2 million from that contract.
So if you only have two teams left, do they have to play each other like 14 times a year? Is that how?
Well, they're folding into some other. I can't remember which other
Sharon's out there.
conference they're going to. Ooh,
Do you guys know what this is? This
maybe
thing?
they should.
A
I've been
massager?
trying to
Automatic
figure it
can
out for a
opener.
long time now. Something to open a can, I'd say.
It's an automatic jar opener.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what it is?
Did you
That
see it
was
going
right.
before? Did you see it going before when it was moving?
Yeah.
It's really slow, but it squishes the inside first, and then once it finds a cap, it squishes the outside, and then it turns the little one. Pretty neat.
Have you
pretty
used it?
good
Does
torque.
it work pretty good?
I used the other one. This is a new one, but this one seems like it has a crazy amount of torque. Like I accidentally got my finger jammed in here, and I thought it was going to break my finger off.
'Cause a lot of times you buy a jar of pickles, they're almost impossible to open.
I don't know what it is about jalapeno pickles, but I seriously have like the kind that you have to yank on, like a big thing with leverage for like old people. And I'm always spilling, I'm scared I'm going to spill jalapeno juice everywhere because I'm yanking on it with this big, long torquing thing. So I went robot.
Used to take a knife or something like that and jam it up inside the rim to try to break the seal first. Yeah.
I've done that and broke glass. So I tap it around the outside, and that's as far as I'll go. And then I got that big cranky thing. But anyway, we're talking like now we're talking how to open jars with robots and levers because we're old.
My wife brought me a jar of pasta sauce one time to open for her, so I just took it and I smashed it on my head to break the seal. Just hit
In
the
the
lid.
middle.
I thought you was
Popped
going to
it
say
open.
you smashed a jar over your head.
No, but in the center of the jar, you're saying like you can pop that thing and it.
Well,
Pop.
I just hit the edge. It's same as tapping it with a knife, but I just went.
Oh, you hit the side of the jar. I thought you were talking about the center button on
Dang,
where it's
dude.
flexible. Yeah, that's gotta hurt.
This and other kitchen tips next week.
Because you can tap it on a counter, same way.
What about heating? Anybody ever try heating them? I used to, when I had a stove that was gas, I was a kid, I would just turn on the stove and like wiggle the jar lid on top of the
Well,
stove a little bit. Now it opens.
You can
up.
run it under hot water.
Oh, I never did that. I just did it on the stove. I was a little kid.
Yeah, I'm glad that shit didn't explode on you, homie.
I didn't do very long.
Right on.
Just enough to kind of break whatever, was sticking in there. Or melt whatever was sticking in there, I guess.
You put it in between two butter knives and then held it over the flame for a little. Oh, it's something different.
I have done what Gizzard was saying, like jammed a knife in there to kind of wedge the jar open, but I broke like the thread on the jar, I broke the thread off one time and I was like, oh, I didn't know that could happen. And I didn't want it to, be in glass. So I never did that anymore.
Ken Thompson, going back to the knives, the chef here, I can tell you about hammer marks. They are left so that food like potatoes and, yes, cheese don't stick.
Very good.
Okay. So that
Big.
was correct then.
That makes
So
sense.
I was going to ask about movies. You got any interest in chatting about movies?
Oh, yeah, I was actually going to talk about a couple that I watched recently. I watched Nobody, which I think Bob Odenkirk, guy from Better Call Saul,
Yeah.
which it was okay, an okay movie. It doesn't make any sense, his backstory, but he fights Russian mafia guys, and Christopher Lloyd's in it. He was probably my favorite part of the movie. It's Christopher Lloyd plays his father.
Is he still alive? Wow.
I remember
Yeah.
liking it, but not necessarily like I think I watched it twice so far, so I might watch it again.
I don't want to give away spoilers. It's a more recent movie, but Christopher Lloyd kills a bunch of people with a shotgun. So he kind of kicks
wow.
ass in the movie.
It's essentially like, let's make an action movie and then make a script so that we can write an action movie. You know, it was like, we want to make an action movie, make a script. I don't think it was like, oh, here's an amazing book, let's make a movie about it.
What was the other? God, what was the other one I watched?
I watched a movie that's a documentary about the making of the what do they call them, first-person shooter video games. So I think it's like 3 or 5 hours long. It's super long, and I don't know if you know me or not, but I don't like video games that much at all. Kind of don't like them at all. And this thing was amazing. It's so fun. It's completely dry. Like you don't have to know anything about video games. It just starts taking you through how like the first person was like, oh, you know what? If I made this blip move over there, then I can make it look like you're walking down a hallway. And then we did that, and then everybody wanted to play with that after work. And then so we put it on a floppy disk, and then it got spread around, and then and then this happened, and then somebody said, oh, if you put walls on it, so it's just kind of happened. It started by people fucking around in when computers only had like so much memory and stuff, and it's literally been like this evolution. And then it was like, oh, I don't even remember, but you remember like the old video games where it's like Pitfall and shit, and then it turned into like the next kind of thing, and then they became these engines. And it talks about all this stuff that I've heard of, and I watch people play these video games or whatever, or listen to people talk about their video games. But this movie like goes through and explains how essentially the key players were like, okay, this is cool, but what if? And are like, oh, you know what happens if you do this? Look what happens. And now if we build a video game around that, and then we just open up this, it changes the game. And then, oh, well, yeah. And then somebody said, okay, we played that for a little while, and then we figured out if you do this with this other engine, then we could make this happen. And it's just, it unfolds the history of the video games from these first-person shooter types of video games. Super, super, super interesting. So I don't know if tech documentaries are interesting to you, but I don't even like video games. This was amazing.
I bookmarked that a couple of weeks ago to check out. I'm glad that it got a good review. Thanks, man.
And then the other one is the Y2K one. There's a Y2K
that one too, man.
And it's okay. Matt likes it more than me. I think I lived through it and I can remember it. And it's like if a kid today tried to tell you about Y2K, right? So it's like, okay, I understand what you're saying. And yeah, you can find newspaper articles that make it look like this, but it kind of just it wasn't my experience of Y2K. Let's put it that way. It made it seem like it was more of a scam, like a big hype, and everybody was.
Oh, hell no. That was full blown mania.
Yeah.
It was nuts.
But it's still worth watching. It was interesting watching all these old clips and stuff and whatever from back in the day. I liked it. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, I went back and watched Total Recall.
Which one? New or old?
The old one. I didn't watch the new one.
You haven't seen the new one?
No.
It's all right. It's all right. It's different, but it's all right. It's definitely more visually interesting. But Total Recalls are amazing. I really like both of them.
Yeah, I was just trying to look up what the other movie was, but I think it was free on Prime, so I don't have an email for it.
Do you ever watch
Yeah.
the movies on YouTube that are free?
I have 223 DMRs out there.
Good evening.
I was watching the old Avengers, the British TV show from the 60s.
Oh, I
where
remember that.
That's a good show. I haven't watched it in a while. Does it hold up?
I think it does. They had it for free on Prime, but now it's not free anymore. But they had all the seasons except the first season, which they don't exist. So they had 2 through 6. And it's John Steed, Patrick McNee playing John Steed, but his first partner was Blackman. Can't think of her first name, but she played Pussy Galore in Goldfinger.
Mm-hmm.
And she was really good. And it was, for being 60s, he was the government man, and then she was kind of they would bring her in when they needed expertise on something. So she didn't work for the government directly. She was considered an amateur.
Like a consultant.
Yeah, but she was an archaeologist. So a lot of the science stuff she covered, and then Steed would do all the action stuff.
A lot of times when I'm doing things and I don't have enough knowledge on the matter, I will get a fresh out of college expert, hot female archaeologist to help me out with stuff.
But Honor Blackman, that's her name. And then she was for 2 seasons, and then Diana Riggs, who probably is who everybody remembers.
That's one who I remember. Yeah,
she was 3 seasons, and then
probably because that's the one they showed on TV over here or something.
Then there was another one, and the gal, and I can't think of her name. And then they're kind of at the end, it was a guy and a girl that would help him.
Joanna Lumley.
But it was kind of interesting to see how the series changed. It went from the way they filmed it to begin with was kind of like a soap opera look to it, and then they went to a single camera, which looked a lot better. The production values were a lot better. Kind of the Diana Riggs era is when it changed. But
oh, you mean like where there's like 6 cameras in there and they're constantly like turning their heads and there's another camera looking straight at them and they're just saying this one line, but there's like, you can tell like 4 cameras must be in that room.
Yeah, and it's a set. It's like there's supposed to be. There's one scene where there's a meeting in a room, and somebody walks in the door and brushes the wall, and you see the wall move because it's cloth.
Okay, but this is a TV show.
Yeah, but it's still. I still enjoyed it. I didn't get to finish it because it went off Prime.
Shannon said Eartha Kitt.
No, she wasn't in it, as far as I know.
She's in Batman. The original Batman.
Yeah, she was a singer. She did
that as well.
She did like a couple Bond themes.
Oh, she was Catwoman.
Yeah, she was the Black Catwoman. Sang Santa Baby, a version of Santa Baby.
I remember that.
Well, you know what? I'm looking at a thing called The New Avengers, and that's from 1978, and that is not the same thing. That's the thing you were talking about where he's with a couple. The 1966-7 season 1 is the one. Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, that sounded like Doctor Who.
Honor Blackman and Diana Rigg. Is Honor Blackman a dude or a girl?
No, that's Pussy Galore. Is Honor Blackman?
Oh, okay.
For sure.
Is Honor a real name or is that a TV name?
No, that's her.
That is.
Well, I don't know if that's her acting name, but that's her name.
But I mean, that's what there are people that have named their kid Honor.
Yeah. Well, Honoria, just put IA on the end of it.
Oh, that's a real name?
Honoria's. Yeah.
Yes.
Where is that from? Is there a country?
Beats me.
No. I ran into it in genealogy. It's a kind of an old person's name, so.
Yeah, I mean, it must be old. I never heard of it. Or that doesn't mean it's old. I guess it could be some country I've never heard of it either. That's what I was wondering.
It might be Irish.
Irish?
Possibly.
I wish I wouldn't have drank that.
Oh, the other one was Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, wait a minute. I don't think I've seen that.
It's
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Yeah. I liked it. It's basically the Joy Luck Club with multiverse.
Fair. I like that description too. Yeah.
And I did like the Joy Luck Club personally. It's a tearjerker.
What is that?
It's a movie kind of about it's a group of women who came over from China, and it's one of the daughters. I can't think. Tan. I can't remember.
Amy Tan.
Amy Tan
Amy.
wrote a book about it, which I one of the English classes we read one of her articles. She's a good writer, but so kind of the mother-daughter, and then also the history of the mothers in China and how they came to America, why they came to America, and some of their background. And probably not a great description, but
it's like a drama, though.
Yeah.
Okay. This one says comedy, adventure, action. Jamie.
What? Action? I never would have thought about it that way.
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Oh, that one, Joy Luck Club. I thought we were still on Joy Luck Club.
Oh, no.
Action movie. Hold on.
But I really like Michelle Yeoh as an actress.
Whoa, it has 511 comments. Oh, it's from last year. This person says it took 3 days to watch because there's a lot to absorb, but the end ties everything together.
They do a good job. There's a little bit of girl power, but it kind of rectifies itself at the end because she's a little all over the place, but she's having kind of a personal crisis, which drives the whole story. But Larry Knopf's out there. Hey, Larry.
Well, and then kind of like the existential crisis of if anything is possible, then nothing matters.
Yeah.
Kind of deal. Yeah.
And then
You've seen this one, DJ?
Yeah.
The bagel with everything on it.
Yeah.
I liked it. It's not.
It's got
perfect.
7.8 stars. No, sorry. It's got an 8.54 out of 10 stars.
Was that like IMDb rating or something?
Oh, no. Different ones. It's IMDb, I think, is 7.8. There's too many fan numbers on this thing. I think it's 7.8 is IMDb probably, and then this other one is the reviewers on the site give it an 8.5. So an even higher rating on the site than the IMDb one. Anyway, so it looks like it has pretty high ratings. I'll watch it.
Yeah, it's all of the 7 out of 10 in my estimation.
Yeah, I'd say that. And there's parts where it kind of wavers, and I'd start to think, oh no, not this stuff, and then
This is the first time you watched it?
Yeah. But it's worth watching.
Anybody watching Reacher?
I haven't watched any more. I was kind of waiting for more episodes.
Yeah, it's driving me nuts. I watched about half of it. There's a new one, I guess. So I watched about half of the new one. And as much as I like watching it, I know I'm about to have to stop watching it again because I'll have to wait till next freaking week. It's annoying. And somebody there's like a snoring throughout the whole show I'm watching, so I don't know what's up with that. Like either somebody in the
I've
editing
noticed that.
department.
Oh, sorry, man.
A lot of
My
shows I
uncle
watch.
came over to stay.
A lot of the shows I watch have snoring in them, I'm noticing. It must be a new trend. The kids like it, probably.
That's a pretty good dream.
It is.
He's exhausted. He ate twice today. We went outside a couple of times. It was kind of cold, so that's tough life.
Garage guys out there. Good evening.
It's a nice garage. You don't see stuff until you see it on the, when you bring it up like that. You can't really hardly see it on the comments. I had no idea that was a garage.
Oh, that,
I just thought it was like a shape or something,
I always think, I'll watch stuff on my tablet. So when I come downstairs, I'll bring it down with me and think, well, I'll catch up on the list of movies that is ever growing. And then I'll sit down and start looking at my phone and flip through Instagram and YouTube. That's it.
I flip on my Cirrus. So I pay for the Cirrus. I think it's worth it. It only costs like $11 if you only want one station, essentially. So I listen to the van all the time because those radio stations suck, period. Like there's a couple of places where radio stations are good, but unless you know where they are, good luck, right? You're jumping around in the dial. So anyway, I really like Cirrus in the car, but you can listen to it on the YouTube, on the internet. So last couple of days I've been working on stuff and I just turned it on, and I'm way more productive listening to music than having a movie playing. Because usually I have a movie or a TV playing, so it's easier.
I'll if I'm sitting at the computer, like drawing and stuff, I'll put on iTunes and then listen to music. If I'm working on something, I'll either listen to live streams, get caught up on live streams, or I'll actually listen to TV shows. Ones that I've seen, like the Nero Wolf, I've seen a million times.
Yeah, so it's like listening to a radio that you've heard, or a radio story that you've heard a million times.
Yeah, I've seen it so many times I don't need to watch it because I
But
know.
my problem is I will, because I'll be like, oh, this is the part where that van drives past, or like this is the part where there's a Doberman in it, and I'll sit there and watch that part. That's what I'm saying. Like they do kill me a little bit because I know where to stop and watch. Or I'll be like, okay, now I got to wait for something to upload, and then I'll start watching the movie, and then I'm going to finish watching the scene before I go back to doing whatever. Where on music, you just sit there watching the download, and as soon as it stops, you just get right back to work because you're just sitting there watching the movie or listening to the music.
I'll usually, if I'm working on the computer, I listen to the Beatles. I've got the entire Beatle collection. My wife gave it to me many Christmases ago.
Maybe that's a thing to do. Instead of the best song, who's got the best catalog?
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying? Because now it's not best album. Now it's best. What is that? Is that catalog the best way to say it? Like the best?
Yeah, catalog.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh, man. See, I wouldn't normally be voting for the Beatles for much of anything, except like that being propped right away. That's where my head went, and probably the most valuable one as well.
Although not nearly the biggest.
Agree.
I think Grateful Dead wins again.
I mean,
but just saying.
Well, Stones have been around a lot longer than the Beatles ever existed. So
Yeah.
But the Beatles did merchandising, right? And or did they?
There was, yeah, because they had lunchboxes and figures.
Well, I guess I was thinking of like merchandising their songs so that you couldn't use their songs. But then, no matter what they did, maybe that's what I'm thinking of, licensing. But no matter what they did or what whoever owns them now could do, like you say, or people that are today can do it times 10. Like they're probably making $1 million. I already know that. Who is it? Those girls make way more money than anybody. Like the girl musicians make tons of money. They make billions of dollars, like millions of dollars. What's that one now? Taylor Swift? She makes more money than anybody. Or wait,
Yeah.
Madonna makes more money than anybody. I think Madonna makes more money.
No, Taylor Swift has probably outstripped her by now, and
Oh, yeah.
certainly in the last decade or, well, more than a decade.
I don't know. I just
Yeah.
watched something that was the top, how much people are making. I don't know how much. I guess guys are maybe making that much. But anyway, there's no way the Beatles are making that much because they'd be on that list, and I didn't see them on any list.
Well,
But
and the
that's
Beatles
just
aren't
money,
true.
not like popularity or like who's aware of their songs or who can, you know.
Like when you are big enough as she is to be able to schedule on your, on an international tour, you're in, say, Houston for 4 nights in a row, and there are things in place so that you can't get a ticket for all 4 nights. And part of that is it's a reasonable thing that she began doing because the sellout, and it wasn't just a scalping thing. It's just they would sell through so many, she had to start booking extra nights, and then to cut down on there being people who would be, who wanted the privilege, say, of seeing her 4 times in a row could no longer do it. And it's like they're stupid expensive tickets these days. I don't mean just her. I mean like everybody. But the call that they were getting for some of those was like, oh my God, big, like bigger than the Eagles and anybody else who's had, a national tour in the last decade. Go ahead.
We're going all over the place on this, but that big place in Vegas looks like a big ball. You go inside of it and listen to concerts. So somebody was made a video on YouTube or an Instagram that I seen. I'm pretty sure it was Instagram. And they were sitting down. They turn the video on. They go in. They sit down at their seat, and it's like probably like a third of the way up to the top. Like it's kind of lower than halfway up the seats. They sit down at their seat and they go, "The seat was $500, and look it." And you see mostly from their seat. You see mostly the row above you, like the ceiling above you, which goes way the hell out. And then you can see like a little stripe of all the lights and stuff. And then if you stood up, you could almost see the stage. But essentially, instead of seeing like a lot of the video you see from that ball, it's like a IMAX where you're looking down at the stage and then you're looking up at like, the amazing light show in front of you. These people were like looking down this corridor and like you could barely see some of this, like you could barely see the top of the stage down here and like just some of the light show. And they were saying that those tickets were $500 for YouTube.
Wow.
Oh, man.
No, that's just an Instagram, so I don't know if that was legit or not. But I was like, whoa.
Well, some of the gold circle seating. I mean, I used the Eagles as an example. Local, there were $2,000 tickets in gold circle. Like, I didn't used to spend $2,000 in a year on national concerts, and I would see something almost once a week. Like, it's just ridiculous how much ticket prices are these days. And like unless they're going to sell out the arenas, which in sheds like in Omaha, like when they make it out here, if they're not sold out in a couple of days, they're not going to sell out. So you just have to wait for ticket release on the same day. And those, $2,000, $1,500, $1,000 seats end up being like a couple $100 if they're still available. And I looked up something
for one ticket.
Oh yeah. Well, but to see some of those artists kind of thing, like Elton John is another, example where the gold circle seats are just ridiculously expensive. So I looked up the Taylor
those
Swift
are the fancy
thing.
seats you're saying.
Yeah, like say first 10 rows, center section. Yeah. So I pulled this up, and it's from Forbes. Taylor Swift was named Time Magazine's 2023 Person of the Year. After she spent most of 2023 on her lucrative worldwide tour, she became a billionaire and was named Spotify's most streamed artist globally. Like, I didn't even know who the hell she was until recently, kind of deal. I mean, the phenomenon. I had no idea what she was like as a juvenile and anything else she did.
I am not a Taylor Swift fan. I will say she is a good singer. She did, I think the only thing close to the concert was I saw her halftime show for one of the Super Bowls. But she's a good singer and apparently a very good business person. it's been a long time since I've been to a concert, and I'm not going to pay, $500 to see anybody.
Okay, we're all wrong. So I just went to Forbes 2023 article, June. Oprah, 2.5 billion. So she doesn't count because she's not a singer. Rihanna, 1.4 billion. Kardashian, 1.2 billion. Taylor Swift, 740 million. Kylie
No,
Jenner, Madonna,
because I've got Forbes up too, and it's like she's 1.1 billion.
1.4.
But I'm sorry, I stomped over you. Were you pick it up from her and then Madonna? Who was else?
No, just Madonna was at 5. I thought remember this. I knew Madonna was up there. So, but Beyonce's just below Madonna, and then Celine whatever Dion.
Celine Dion.
Yeah, Vegas lady, 480 million. Somebody I never heard of, 480 million. Oh, Judge Judy. Holy shit, Judge Judy, 480 million. Holy shit.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, Judge Judy is almost. Well, she's richer than Dolly Parton. What the fuck? Dolly Parton, 440 million. And then Reese Witherspoon. I've heard she's like super rich because she like makes money every minute of every day. She's super smart. $440 million. Barbara Streisand, 430. So Reese Witherspoon is made more money than freaking Barbara Streisand.
I would have thought Streisand would have been higher.
Yeah,
well, especially because of the duration of her career.
But that's the thing. She probably made all that a long time ago and was sitting there.
Oh,
and these
yeah.
other girls passed her by. Then,
Good point. And the thing about Taylor is she's like in her late 20s, early 30s. Like if she continues at half that pace, man, that's an incredible career, as well as being like filthy lucre filled.
It says Dolly Parton is 77. Judge Judy doesn't say. She's super old though. Celine Dion doesn't. I never read her name before. Anyway, that's she doesn't say. None of these others say. I guess just Dolly Parton's the only one who said how old she is.
Eric M509 says, my girls love Taylor Swift, but they love stuff like AC/DC and Motley Crue too.
Thank God.
Every once in a while, I'll see like an Instagram post and it'll be like, here's the top 10 groups or some shit, or the top trending noises or whatever, like little trending sounds and stuff. And it'll be like, I'll hear one I've heard before, and I have no idea who this group is. Just a bunch of dumb-looking kids that look all stupid. Like how they're trying to look good for whatever the girls like today, or whenever these pictures were taken. But, I mean, I've never heard of any of these groups that are out there now.
Jason Ghost said she's going to try and put together a 2A bike chat. What riders carry, holster options, local laws, issues, problems, etc.
That'd be interesting.
That's a great idea.
It's not something I don't think I've ever seen anybody do a chat on that.
So back in the days before YouTube, when we had forums only, forums were angry. So I made up first I went to an Arizona forum, and then it got really angry and kind of divided. And then I made up my own forum, and it existed for a few years. And in that time, there was a couple of people that were, what do you call them? Like road bikes? Is that what they're called? Like the, Harley, not the Harley, but like the Honda Gold.
Dressers?
Where
dressers.
they had like anyway, they would go on they would get all their stuff on their bikes and go for like a month and drive around. That would be like their thing for, every twice a year, maybe 3 times a year. They drive around for like a long time. Anyway, so we did have some people that were gun people, and this was 2007 to 9 or something, so it was a while ago. But that was how long ago it's been, and I haven't seen anything on YouTube about it. That would be cool. Well, Bob a little bit, but he was just talking about motorcycles.
An underserved community. Good luck with that.
I think truckers are in a community like that too. I think truckers would be an awesome 2A, like strong 2A group.
And Eric was asking if I've completed my Washington safety compliance yet. He did his for free at the range here in Yakima. I did the one from Sporting Systems online, which is also free. So anybody in Washington that needs to do the safety training, head to Sporting Systems, their website, and they have the training for free. You answer the questions, and then you can print out your certificate when you're done. Hang on here. We'll do this one. GearWebsites.com for all your 2A related stickers, patches, web design, logo design, consulting. GearWebsites.com.
Thanks for the plug.
Is there anything you want to plug?
Taylor's no.
Are you doing a knife chat tomorrow?
Possibly an early morning one. It depends on how many videos I can get done after this chat, which will probably depend on how long we BS after this. So, not sure. So I'll plug. Let's plug She Fires. We'll be doing a chat tomorrow afternoon, more than likely. Check that out at She Fires on YouTube. Thanks for hosting.
DJ, anything you want to plug?
Absolutely. On Saturday evenings on the A Great Start Shooting School channel, there's a discussion about suicide awareness and mental health. Check that out. And immediately following on the Hillbilly Up channel, there's Guns, Beer, and Therapy. So let's see everybody again. Be safe, have fun, carry your guns, and rock. I'm out.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I found something else we should be talking about.
Okay.
All right, so I was minding my own business, and I found out. Have you ever seen the movie? What movie is it? The movie Pink Panther.
Yes.
Everybody else? You know, seen the movie Pink Panther?
Yeah.
The old one. The
I've
old one.
seen it.
The first one?
Yeah, like from back in the day.
Yeah.
There's a wait. Hold on. Maybe it's the second one.
The Return of Pink Panther is where Clouseau takes the center stage.
So Revenge of Pink Panther, and then again in Curse of Pink Panther. So those two movies, you've seen the Revenge of Pink Panther and the Curse of Pink Panther?
Yeah, I've seen all of them.
Okay, so there's a person named Ed Parker in those movies. Have you heard of this guy before?
No.
Sounds familiar.
So Ed Parker is also the guy, we heard about this a minute ago. He's the guy that was hanging out with Elvis, teaching Elvis how to do Kempo karate. And it turns out he's the guy that introduced Bruce Lee at the
that Ed
convention.
Parker.
Yeah, it's the same guy. And I have like a book called Ed Parker's Kenpo Karate or something. And it turns out this guy learned karate from judo and then took it to the United States and made it American Kenpo so that it would work on our streets better. And it's the same dude who was in that movie. I had no idea that like same dude's like boom, boom, boom. He's that guy with the white hair. Anyway, just wanted to see what your thoughts were on Ed Parker.
I know I'm not a huge Kempo fan, but I don't want to. Yes, I know who you're talking about. Gary,
Yes.
would you like to plug anything?
Oh, certainly. I've got a flashlight review up on my channel. Probably another one next week at least. Possibly another knife review. Of course, Foul Territory coming up Friday night, 9 p.m. Central. And again, a reminder that tomorrow night, Rich White will not be doing the This Week Unloaded on the Unloaded Media channel. So thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you to everybody that was out there in the side chat, chatting her up. And if you were out there and didn't say anything, I appreciate you too. Don't be afraid to say hi. Let me know that you were out there. And if you watch this in a replay, once again, leave a comment. Anything we talked about, agree with, disagree with. I'd love to hear from everybody. I always read the comments. They're always appreciated. Other than that, I hope everybody has a good rest of the night, a good tomorrow, and go do something good.